Hey, welcome to Mastermind Advisor podcast number 2. This is where Josh and I were I'm advisor, but Josh is also a marketer that helps advisors, and we help advisors with their marketing and help you meet good quality prospects and making sure that you're closing business with your financial planning practice. But today we're going to talk about leads and the types of leads that you can get, and maybe actually where you shouldn't spend money and where you should spend your money. I can tell with the hundreds of thousands of dollars that I've spent with marketing, I can tell you a good area to spend your money and where to not spend your money. And I know with Josh being here, he can help us with everything that he's done on the marketing side. He's helped out an entire firm build out their entire marketing platform, and then now works with us on helping out with that too. So, but first of all, Josh, I got to say you stepped up your game a little bit here. You got a new background.
I do. Yeah. Well, not 'cause I had to. It's we're working on my office in the basement, so I am now in my kitchen right now, and that's kind of where I'm starting it up. But yep, different background. Got a hat on this time. Seeing some of the people talking about my lack of hair, so we're wearing a hat today.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know who you're talking about there, um, but I also I'm sitting down, so I decided to try that out. So I got a little different background just because I'm sitting down, but um, uh, wanted to jump right into it though as far as lead programs, and I think what the best thing to do is start from worst to best. Um, and the reason why I bring that up is I'm in a lot of different Facebook groups, and I see a lot of people like ask for different lead programs. Uh, you and I have built out different lead programs together, so we can kind of help guide people on what looks good, what doesn't look good. But first off, I know there's a lot of financial advisors, insurance agents, annuity agents that are trying to meet good quality prospects, and there's a difference between quality, or what people deem as quality, and then there's a difference between what we would say show, right? So there's a show rate quality, and then there's also closing rate quality. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through everything that we've tried, but also go through the things that we've heard, and then go through the things that we are doing now to help us close. And the reason why I bring this up right now is you and I were talking about an advisor that we work with. I actually help him close a lot of the business, but him and I have met about 6 new clients, or we've brought on 6 new clients together. He's brought on 2 million in annuity production, and we brought on 6 million in assets under management just in the last 3 months, just from the leads that he's been getting through our program. But I don't really want to talk about our program so much, other than him and I were getting pretty excited. We're closing a lot of business, which is great, and I'm like, you could do 1 million a month if you wanted to. And he's like, yeah, let's start up this other program. I'm like, wait a minute, why would we start up this other program when we haven't even like maximized what we're doing now? This other program that he was describing was a kind of like a lead program where not as good quality. I'm like, why would we waste our money on that instead of just keep doing what we're doing and just keep meeting good quality prospects? Because his average case size is $300,000. The average prospect we're meeting is well over $1 million. So it didn't really make any sense for us to, at least in my opinion, to go do anything different.
Yeah, I mean, me as a marketer, I'm all for testing, but testing to an extent, right? I mean, if you want to try something new, by all means, go for it, but don't downgrade what's working for you. Why not double down on that and then use some of that extra, if you have it, to test? So it's just more of the don't jump ship or change the golden goose. It's more, if it's working, kind of double down, stick with it, and then work with that program.
So first, I'm going to talk about a program that we actually don't do, or we haven't actually technically tried that much. But we also built out one because an advisor wanted us to build out something that was kind of similar, and then we compared it to what we built out, and then they ended up having us shut down the one that we built out for them that we were copying someone else's. And we shut down because of the quality. But first off, there's the lead programs that you can just buy straight leads. And we've tried the straight lead type program where someone fills out a Facebook form, and really all it is they go onto Facebook, they see an ad, they fill out a form, they put their name, email, phone number in there, and then right after that, you're supposed to just hound them, call them. And
On the
the
phone.
problem with that, right, the problem with that is it's a lot of chasing. And that's not ideal. I mean, chasing chasing is well, I guess you could do chasing.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got to start somewhere, right? In the industry, we've all done the chasing. You guys have all done the chasing, but when you start looking at these programs, and we're going to talk about these more and more, it's like, um, and certain advisors like a numbers game and not quality, and trying to find one what suits for you. But if there's a program out there where you don't have to chase, then why do it, right? Why not benefit off something else like that?
All right. Now, you can still make it work. I mean, you can make a lot of dials and still make it work. But it reminds me of a guy that, he used to do a lot of final expense planning. And he discovered that if he sent out, let's say, 10,000 pieces of mail, he would get X amount of clients and then make, let's say, $10,000 or $20,000 a month from that. But to do $20,000 a month, he was having to meet and bring on like almost 100 clients, right, per month. And it got pretty overwhelming. So then what he did is he then switched to the annuity side of things and realized, hey, if I send out 10,000 piece mailers, do these dinners, seminars, and that kind of thing, well, then my case size goes up, and then now I'm bringing like $50,000 a month in instead of $20,000 a month, and I can do it with 50 clients instead of 100 clients. So there's a difference with, when you do leads, the quality, but then how much time you have to put in. You have to track how much time you're put into, so that way you can track how much you're making per hour. A lot of advisors don't actually know what their cost per acquisition is and then what their profitability is and then their time that they're put into that, right?
Yeah.
So
Another great podcast, by the way.
yeah. Anyway, so I think with that type of a lead, it's fine, and it's a great place to start if if you're young, you want to do the lowest cost, and you want to grind it out. Or if you're kind of like telesales, right? If you got like a whole team that's doing all these telesales for you, that can work. But it's harder. It's a lot harder to scale on your own with that type of a lead program. So then let's jump up to maybe another quality side, or a little bit better quality, I would say, because there was another advisor that I was talking with. He was making about $25,000 a month. He was doing these 403B leads, and he was pretty happy with, he was getting like 60 appointments a month. And I'm like, holy cow, that's a lot of appointments. And he's like, well, yeah, but they only cost me like $60 per appointment. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. But you're making only $25,000 a month. And his problem, he couldn't see how he could scale, right? And so when we talked about our program, we're talking like $300 per appointment. Well, he can't get over that hump of, hey, I got to pay, 5 times more to get an appointment. That's what he's stuck at, is my cost per appointment, not how much he's making per appointment, right? Whereas with us, we're making somewhere between $50,000 to $100,000 per month with our leads, right? Like if I look at Mark, what he's written in the last 3 months, he's made over $120,000 at least. And then the assets under management that we're bringing on, if we look at the lifetime value of the client, technically we're getting roughly $60,000 a year, plus you times that by 10 if you look at the lifetime value of the client. And those are just good quality leads, good quality appointments. But if you're kind of fishing for like, sunnies, like I think about my kid, right? Like if you want to go fishing, most people talk about the bass that they catch, right? Or the big walleye that they catch, or the northern. But if you want to go catch a fish, I mean, shoot, I'll take my kid off to the dock, at my mom's house. We'll catch sunnies all day long. Like we'll drop a line in with a little wax worm. Boop, there's a fish. Drop it in again. And like I'm going left and right, trying to, take the fish off my kid's hook. And by the time they drop it in again, they got a fish that I'm trying to take the other one off. And I'm going through wax worms like it's crazy. Now, at the end of the day, we throw them all back anyway. But my kids are excited because they got the fish. But it's nothing really to write home about. I mean, it's eventually you want to up your game, right? You want to go for eventually, like when you're a fisherman, you're not like, hey, let's go fish off the dock. Let's go fish for sunnies. That's not that exciting anymore, right? We're gonna go for the big fish, or the fish tails, right? So that's kind of the analogy I would put with what we're wanting to do, or at least where our financial planning practices is. We're out, we're professional fishermen at this point. We're going out and we're trying to catch the good bass, the good walleye, the pike, whatever you want to call it. But we're putting value there too. Like I feel like we provide the value for that type of people. When you are doing like the sunnies or if you're just fishing for sunnies, I mean, you're just commoditizing something there. You're just trying to get a transaction. You're not actually trying, in my opinion, not really trying to help as much. So that's a different type of quality.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Where you get to a point where it's not the numbers of how many appointments that you're bragging about. It's the quality of the content or the client you're bringing in. So great analogy.
Yeah, like that. I know in Michigan, I know you guys go fishing every now and then, and
yeah,
I know you might not get all the sunnies that we get, off the dock, but man, I gotta tell you though, you gotta watch out because there was a time my dad we needed to move the boat lift. He's like, just, get in the water, move it, and so we started moving it, and it started biting. Like the sunnies started biting my toes. I jump out. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "They're biting me." He's like, "Come on, you wimp, get back in there." I'm like, "No, but they're biting. They're piranhas back there." He was making fun of me. So anyway, there's tons of sunnies down there, which is great for my kids. But I kind of feel like we grow up eventually, and like, hey, I caught a sunny. That's great. Let's go do the big thing. So let's move on to the next type of quality, which you can do leads from online still. We built something similar to this. I don't want to name the name of the program, but basically the way it works is there's a Facebook ad. They brings them to a landing page where they read, I don't know, maybe a page long website, and then at the end they are filling a form out online and then request an appointment. So what the topic is usually is around tax-free retirement or something like that. And it brings in people, right? It's a good topic. People want tax-free retirement, that kind of thing. But the downfall to it is the commitment. It's really, people are wanting to know what this, magic vehicle is. So it brings in you a lot of leads, but the people, as far as being committed to the appointment, I think we found that the appointment show rate was somewhere around 20-25%.
Yeah, on a good day. Yep.
So you think worth doing?
Depends if you want those sunnies. So, yeah, it's a great point. I mean, we've talked about 3 different types of leads now. A numbers game that show a quality, of prospects. Now you're kind of talking about the third thing that we look at, and that's just the show rate, right? So, people can say they can get leads all day or they get appointments booked all day, but out of those appointments, who's showing? So, this is kind of, I think, the route where you're trying to go, and it's another great topic to kind of bring home.
Yeah, I think the quality is, there might be some quality there. I definitely think there's quality in there.
Yep.
But meaning that if we talk about quality, we're talking about maybe asset size and that kind of thing. Like they might have assets. So if you think of that as like a quality measurement, that there might be that kind of quality potentially there. However, we don't just measure quality. We also measure the quality of the committed part of the prospect. Like how committed are they with meeting? And the problem with that kind of strategy is it's really easy for people to filter information, just book an appointment. But they didn't have to go through a very long qualification process to book that appointment. So that's why we have a really low no-show rate. Which is something what I don't like to do that, because then you end up chasing anyway. And I don't know if that's necessarily saving a lot of money, but it's not something that I think is, worth my time. So,
What's the
all right.
time on your calendar?
So what would be a different, or I kind of went through the next three. I think we're getting closer to what we do. I'm trying to think of like other programs that are out there. Like I know there's the movie bring people to a movie, right? Dinner seminars. When I think about like all the marketing that we've done, there is a reason why people are booking appointments with us. And the reason why they're booking appointments with us is because we're making them go through a longer qualification process. But I think it's also important to note that this is not a silver bullet. This is not people coming in to sign the dotted line. There is no program out there other than if you want to do like final expense and like if you want to commoditize it, that's different. You're not going to be able to commoditize something that's going to be high net worth type prospects. It just won't work. They want the high touch. They want the whole financial plan. They want the whole thing, right? You're not going to be able to just get someone to buy a product unless they're like, hey, I want to buy a CD. Okay, that's only going to be a portion of their money, right? So that's, again, we're commoditizing it. It's not going to be the same thing as if you're trying to bring someone in, get the big fish in, essentially.
Again, this kind of goes back to the last podcast. Our whole industry is based on relationship and relationship building. It's not just a numbers game. So yeah, for something like that to convert and just be a dotted line, you still have to build that relationship if you're going to want the quality of the client there.
Yeah, exactly. So have you heard about the movie program?
Yeah, a few advisors have brought it to me. It's an interesting play on a marketing program. So I have yet to hear a success on it, but it's definitely a switch. So, and I'm sure there's other advisors out there that have tried it. You're talking about the documentary, right? That they rent the movie theater out, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Here's what I think why advisors like it is because I think they feel like the movie does the selling for them.
Yeah.
But here's what that's missing.
Go in and plug it in. Yeah.
Everyone's going to watch the movie, and then once they watch the movie, they're going to be like, dude, sign me up for an appointment. I want to meet with you so I can get whatever you got, based on this movie. No, that's not. I know there are people that have success with it, but they do a ton of follow-up. They're on top of it. I mean, it's not a silver bullet. I know a lot of people want to have a silver bullet, especially when it comes to writing annuities, for example. They want that silver bullet where people will just come in, they can write that annuity, and then on to the next person. They can commoditize it. But look, you're not getting 6-7% commission if it's a commodity, right? Like, if it was that easy, right? You wouldn't be making 6-7%. There's a reason why you're incentivized to bring that much business in. So here's the problem with the movie, and it's not that it doesn't work. The problem is it's not you giving the presentation. You're not building rapport with that person. So you might get appointments, but you're not building the rapport with somebody. So it's going to be definitely a much harder sale. So let's move on to the dinner seminars, which I used to do a ton of. Did you do any dinner seminars?
Everyone's favorite. I did not. When I came in, I have always pushed educational classes. Since then, I've helped a couple advisors market for dinner seminars, but for the most part, it's been the educational classes for it. But I still hear to this day of advisors that want to do dinner seminars and how popular it is. So, and not saying it doesn't perform, but there are caveats that come to that.
Now, there are some different versions that we do for dinners. We work with a pretty big advisor that's doing 40 dinner seminars a month.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Yep. And again, he's
still
in tough markets, so there's an extent where that might have to play. Yeah, but
like Arizona. I think he's in Arizona. That makes it tough, right? Because you have to do. I think, like he says, if you're going to do if you're going to do seminars at all in Arizona, you got to do dinners. But the dinner seminars are great as far as a great lure. Here's what we found, or at least what I've found, is technically they're not bad for like annuity producers. If you just want to do annuity business, like it'll bring in like $400,000 or $500,000 type prospect, $300,000-$400,000 type prospect. You'll write 150, 200,000 per person, that you can get in as far as an appointment. To do a lot of annuity production, you're gonna have to bring in a lot of people. But on the AUM side, the assets under management, when I was doing dinner seminars, I was not bringing a lot of assets under management. And that's just because I wasn't bringing in the higher quality type prospect. I wasn't bringing in the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $9 million, $10 million type prospect. So for me anyway, and my financial planning practice, I actually stay away from the dinners. I stay away from the mailers too. But we still work with people that do dinner seminars and do mailers also. And what we found out with the dinner seminar, we actually started doing a new one with a gentleman in Arizona doing something called the IRMA, which is the Medicare premium. And he's having a lot of, you're the one working with him, so I know there's a lot of success there.
A ton. Yeah, he's getting some good numbers, and he's having great high quality prospects there. And it's working well. But again, it's something new, different. That's Arizona that stands out. So yeah, it's a pretty good success rate there. So yeah, dinner seminars aren't dead by any means. It's just, I think the hard part is just the not only the time investment, but the capital, right, on everything. So
I think the cool part is he's got a new topic, right? The Medicare
correct.
premium, IRMA. What are they going to do to IRMA? So that's bringing in, it's kind of like the beginning of Social Security. Do you remember like when Social Security was like the hot topic, and that brought in everybody? And
Yep.
I think that's kind of run its course a little bit. I think you can still do them, but I don't think because there's so many advisors doing them. I think this Medicare premium, the IRMA thing, is going to be different and bring in different, good quality, at least for the beginning until it runs its course. Taxes in retirement is still pretty hot. Estate planning, from what I've heard, has been pretty good. Although, again, estate planning can bring in lots of different types of quality. Because if you think about it, estate planning, if you have $100,000 or $2 million, technically you could say you need an estate plan. So it will bring in a lot of different type of quality. So let's talk about mail versus Facebook advertising or digital advertising first before we jump into kind of the virtual stuff that we do and the educational seminars that we do. So mailers are not dead. I wouldn't say they're dead, but they're, in my opinion, they're expensive. So if you haven't heard my story before, I used to spend about $22,000 on marketing between dinners and mailers before I started doing Facebook advertising. And Facebook advertising was able to bring my cost down to half as far as what I was spending on, between mail and Facebook. So if I was spending, $12,000 on mailers before, I'm now spending, $6,000 on, or actually less than that, on Facebook advertising. So like we could spend technically if I spent $2,500, I'd have a ton of people there at a dinner seminar these days. But what's the average person spending on Facebook for dinners right now? $1,500?
Yeah, right about. Yep. They're getting roughly, a cost per registration is like $10, $15 for a dinner seminar on Facebook right now. So it pulls really well. So if you're spending the same what you're spending on a mailer on Facebook advertising, you can just think about the numbers that would kind of bring in there on that.
I remember when I was first doing them, I was pretty early on in the game, and so I think my cost, I was spending maybe $2,000 on filling up 2 nights, and things are going well. Medicare, for Medicare leads, you only had to spend like $500, and now that's changed, right? That's totally different now, and where it's not even worth doing Facebook ads anymore after COVID happened. So, then the dinners alone, those are just expensive, but the type of quality that we got were typically you're going to find somebody between $300 to $500. And you're always going to have those plate lickers.
Gotta love the plate lickers. They're always going to be there, aren't they?
Eventually I just grew some thick skin to have those plate lickers. The downfall of some of those plate lickers, though, they're always the ones that are like annoying at the class. or at the dinner. Like they're trying to come up with like smart questions, gotcha questions, asking, how'd you get paid? Or, why would you use that mutual fund, recipe 500 or blah, blah. Like they're trying to get you messed up in your presentation. And the funny thing is, if you do it right, you can get them to screw up a little bit where no one else in the room likes them and they like you a lot and they'll book meetings. Now, here's the other problem that we found with dinners. You will book typically 80 to 90% of the room if you're pretty good. I know one of our friends says he'd book 100%. I don't know if that, but the show rate though, that was my biggest issue. Like I would have 89% of the room book an appointment and then probably 50% or more would drop off. And I would try everything to get them to show. Like I would send them gift cards. I would send so many different reminders just to get them to show up to their appointment. And they would ghost you. They didn't care. And it would just be frustrating because you're blocking your calendar off. You have so many appointments in your calendar, but then you don't even know which ones are going to show. And then you're blocking off time. Like I remember the worst part, I'm blocking off time in the evening. And I'd get mad at Dale because he would book a 9 o'clock appointment or 8 o'clock appointment. And, my kid just was born. And, the funny thing is, the 5, 6, and 7 o'clock appointment would show, but the 8 o'clock would. Or I had to stick around to see if the 8 o'clock would show. That I had to change. That was not fun. And so we changed to the educational seminars. So I stopped doing the dinners. And what I found through the educational seminars, doing at local colleges, libraries, universities, that kind of thing, is that the quality jumped up. Much better quality. Average prospect was well over $500,000. All of a sudden, like I'm getting good quality prospects as far as the meetings go. My average case size and client has jumped up significantly. And then what also changed is how I took on those appointments. I'm starting to only meet with them during the day. And the funny thing is they all show. Like you have to have a good follow-up process. You got to make sure you do that because if you don't do that, no one's going to show. But they all show.
They're booking because they want to meet with you and learn more and how you can help them. They're not booking because they feel guilty that you bought them a meal. So it's a different sort of commitment for them. They want to be there. They want to learn from you. That kind of thing.
I think it's that, I bought them a steak, right? And all of a sudden hey, thanks for the steak. I kind of feel bad. So yeah, I want to meet with you. But, as soon as they leave the room, like, oh, throw that guy's stuff in the trash, thanks for the steak. I'll see you next time when I get the next invite.
Exactly.
So we stay far away from those now. I haven't done a dinner seminar since 2018. So, or 27. I ended those at the end of 2017. So I have not done a single dinner since then, which I'm happy about. So my cost went down from like 22 grand a month down to just basically my Facebook advertising because the rent of room can be free at some libraries. And then it's also, some of the colleges, it's maybe like $300 per night, which is nothing compared to what I was dropping down on, McCormick and Schmick's or there's a restaurant here called Wildfire. I mean, it was expensive. Now, the only thing is my wife is not too happy with me stopping them other than the money part. Because there's nights where I did not have enough people show. I didn't meet the minimum, so then I'm bringing like nice bottles of wine home.
Yeah, where's the wine at, hon? Yep.
And then I got all the perks, like I spent so much money there, so then I had basically my wife and I would go to dinner there and be free. But that's not, if I'm bringing bottles home, that means I lost a bunch of money. Technically.
Yeah, they weren't free. You paid for those still.
Yeah, double what they normally cost at the liquor store.
Yeah, exactly.
The only nice part is sometimes McCormick's and Schmick's was nice to me where they would, I don't know if I should say this because I might be getting somebody in trouble, but they were nice enough where they would figure out a way to make me whole to a degree. But so here's what we do now.
Got someone fired. Just kidding.
It was over 5 years ago. It's statutes of limitation. Yeah.
There you go.
All right. So then COVID happened. We had to switch, right? So we created this webinar platform, and we have a podcast on how to do virtual seminars, and to help you out, or whoever's listening, right, to help you out, the listener, as a financial advisor, you have to think about how you're bringing that person in. If you're just doing like the Facebook lead form or digital lead form, there's not a lot of commitment or a lot of hoops they have to jump through. Not going to be as good of a quality. That's what we experienced. Then we started sending out like these kits. We call them like the tax-free retirement starter kit. Got some leads there, did some business, but the meetings were so-so, not very committed, a lot of no-shows. And so then we figured out how to draw people in. And so we used like a lead magnet, got their name, email. Then we pushed them to go to a webinar afterwards. Then they had to fill out information again to be able to register for the webinar. Then we send them text, emails up the wazoo to make sure they attend. And I think we upped our ante on that, right? If I remember right, we upped, has our show rates jumped up because we did a lot more texts and emails now, correct?
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So
I think we jumped from like it was like a 40, 45, and then with a couple more reminders, it jumped up to like 60, 65%.
Crazy.
It keeps continually increasing. So absolutely.
You wouldn't think you'd have to do that, but like I know for myself, if I get a text and I'm busy, I'll get the notification, I'll put it back in my pocket, and then I'll forget. And I'll come back to it, 45 minutes later. Oh, send that text out. If you're trying to get someone to come to that timely event, you gotta keep reminding them, hey, come to the meeting, right? And so because most people aren't gonna be like, oh yeah, let me set a timer for that event. So that's what works.
Like that, but definitely not.
So we get people to register for this webinar, they attend the webinar, and then we actually get them to book the appointment. But here's what we found out. The quality is amazing. That's how we've been able to write so much business in the last 2 years, because we're getting people to go through a lengthy process and they're qualifying or disqualifying themselves through that process. The good and the bad is we're getting a lot of leads, but they come out this funnel, and not all of them, we're not going to get every lead to spit out and go to the webinar, right? But that's because we're letting our system do the qualification through that process, and then what spits out is a good appointment. And we have a 80% show rate for our appointments through the virtual stuff, which is great. And the quality is really good. And what I mean by quality is asset size and the type of commitment that appointment is, meaning that when I talk with them, they're opening up, they want to talk about, they know that I'm going to ask them a bunch of questions because I know it's a financial planning meeting. It's not a product sale or anything like that. They know what we're, kind of the process we're going to go through because they went through all of that. They stuck around for my 45, 50-minute webinar. So that's the difference here versus someone just sign up for on a Facebook lead forum saying, hey, yeah, I read your article. And then when you call them, they don't remember what they signed up for at all. They just like, yeah, I saw something online. Most of the time, they don't even remember seeing anything online. And the other half of the time, it's fake information. So that's why we want them to qualify themselves. And through our system, we make them put in valid information. We have it go through an email system that checks the right email. We make sure that they put their cell phone number. And we've had someone get upset because they're like, I can't register for your webinar because you want my cell phone number. Okay, so then don't register. If it's not for you, that's okay. You got to give us your phone number. Sorry.
Yeah, it's funny because it's almost backward thinking, right? You think you almost want to make it as easy as possible for someone to book an appointment for you, but if you want quality, you want them to show. It's almost like you have to make it difficult and make them committed before they even book the appointment. So it's weird to think like that, but the fact is that's just how it works. If you want a good show rate, if you want quality, you got to make it somewhat difficult for them to actually meet with you.
So we'll go back to the bass analogy, right? You have to know what type of lure to use. You have to know what type of depth. Now, here's the good news is, when you get onto some really good fishing boats, right, they have like depth finder, the whole you get the little thing that shows if there's fish on there and stuff like that. That stuff helps. But that doesn't mean you drop a lure in there, they're going to bite it. So then you still need to know like what type of lure. So I remember my friends and I, we went to Cabela's and I bought this lure called, I think it's called a Castake, but it had this kind of rubber back where it would kind of swim, right? Kind of looks like a little mini fish, looks like it swim. It wasn't a plastic one, right? It wasn't one of those rattlers or anything. It was like, it almost looked like a real fish. And every time we threw the thing in there, we'd get a northern every time off our dock. I'm like, this is great. Best. So then this fishing boat comes up, they're trying to fish, and I'm like, hey, you want to catch a northern? I'm like, sure. I'm like, put this lure on. I guarantee you're going to catch a northern. Throw it on. Whoop. Caught a northern right away. Like, what the heck? I'm like, I know. It's the lure. And it's the exact same thing when it comes to the virtual appointments. You have to have the right lure. You got to know, one, you got to know where to fish, but two, you got to have the right lure. Otherwise, I mean, you could have the boat, you could have all the funnels, right? You could have everything set up. If you don't have the right lure, you're not going to catch them. And
Kind of provide that value.
yeah, so you got to have the whole thing. You can't just do one or the other. And I know so many people have built out their own programs or tried this and says, "Oh, digital marketing doesn't work." It's because you didn't have the whole thing together. You got to have the whole thing together. You have to have the right lure. You have to have know the right spot to fish. You got to know the right type of quality. You got to know if, are they going upstream, downstream, is it good quality water, whatever it is. You got to know exactly where to go. You got to have the whole thing together, and then at the same time, it's got to spit out the good results. So at the end of the day, when it comes to your marketing, you have to have it all together. You can't just do one a little bit. And that's what we've gone through. I know we've gone through so many different iterations as far as what we've built out. It's taken us a long time to kind of figure this out. But then once we figured it out, we're like, we cracked the code. Holy cow, we cracked it. And that was what it was like when I found that fishing lure. I'm like, now, if I wanted to go catch bass, I didn't catch a single bass. Like, I could, every time I wanted to catch a northern, boom, caught a northern. But then eventually it'd be like catching the sunnies, right? And the sunnies are pretty easy. Put a wax worm, drop it, boom. Even my 3-year-old now, I mean, he was 2 years old last year. I mean, he was just dropping it in. He thought it was great. He's laughing. Oh my gosh, I got a fish. But if you want to do some real fishing here, you got to put the whole thing together. You can't do wax worms. You can't just do a kid's little fishing line and go the cheap route here. You got to do the quality. So I hope that helps you guys out. I know it's a fun analogy. I don't know. Hopefully that helps you guys understand everything. But I hope that helps you as far as going from good to in my opinion, the best types of leads. And I wish there was a way that we could get people to sign a dotted line. But if we wanted to commoditize things, then obviously you wouldn't be providing enough value for it to be worth doing. You'd just be working at the bank, being a CD guy. And that's fine too if you want to do that, but there's not a lot of value there. So what we're trying to do is provide value for our prospects, the people that we meet with, but also we want you as an advisor to understand the type of quality and the type of prospecting that you need to do. Otherwise, you're just going to be just another guy out there.
Absolutely.
Or gal, I should say. Sorry.
Can't leave them out. It's not nice.
Cool. So I know we just talked a lot here for our second podcast. There's a lot of different types of leads we wanted to go through. I know you mentioned there's another podcast that we could talk about all this. So I look forward to the next one with you, Josh, and stay tuned for more. Thanks, guys. We'll see you later. Good.